All right, I'm just going to mark this about a 1/16 off center's all. And I'm going to show you something I meant to talk about, and I didn't. If you pick that foot up, what side would you rather shape your shoe to?
The outside.
Yeah, it's a nicer shape. So that's going to be the shape. Both sides are going to be pretty much the shape of the outside. I was in Holland about a month ago, and they got some really nice footed horses over there, strong feet. I was telling Chad, there's a couple other Americans there and some English guys. We're looking at them trying to figure out how they get so much heel on those horses. But I got to talking to one of the guys, yoke binding, and you know, they don't side clip nothing. They toe clip everything. They try to do just what I did, keep the foot the shape of the coronary band or the shape of the white line. Bold toes, if you look at them, is you get separation up here on a medial lateral toe. And there's almost only so much hoof wall from heel all the way around to heel. So if that hoof wall does this up here, it's got to get it from somewhere. And the heels come in and forward. You can just simply take a string or a piece of rope, put it on the ground and make it a nice shape of a foot and take your fingers and do that and watch what happens to the back. They do that. When you're bumping steel, you know, there's a couple of reasons to bump that toe. One is because when I fuller it, I won't have to hem it as much. I can make my section just a little wider. And what I mean by hemming, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's easier to make the transition, make the toe look stronger. And another thing is the most wear is in the toe, so you have the material there. Because anytime you bend a piece of steel, it stretches. Okay, the most bend is in the toe. So as it stretches, it also narrows. So when I'm bumping this piece of steel, and I've got hold of it with my tongs, I'm not looking. I see a lot of people look right here to make sure they don't miss. Well, they're stopping before they ever hit it. You want to look at where the heat is. Look under or wherever, and look at where the heat is, because you have the tendency to follow through with your blows. What I'm trying to do here is keep my heat between where my fullering is going to start. When you're bumping it, once it starts warping, you might as well quit and straighten it, because if you keep hitting it, it's just going to, all you're going to do is warp it worse. What I'm going to come out and do next is a toe bend. The toe bend is determined by the foot. That foot's typical quarter horse, kind of boxy. And ideally, if you have the toe bend right, the shoe shouldn't have to be bent from but the widest point back. So my toe bend, my branches are going to be a little tighter, a little closer together. If it was a thoroughbred, I'd have them open, because you got to hit the widest point and come around. I'm going to start my toe right here. A lot of guys like to finish it up. I like to finish mine over the horn. Okay, now you can see how this shoe's got really thick on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. What happens normally to a piece of steel when you bend it? It bunches on the inside and it stretches on the outside. So now I automatically, as soon as I do that, I have sole pressure and I got to get rid of it. So I'm going to seat it out, but instead of just seating it out, I'm going to use a glancing blow to spread the material, because the material has also narrowed as it's stretched. It got narrower. So I want to spread it back out. So my blows are this way. Starting right on the corner and just dragging that to the middle. Just going to flatten it a little. Just dragging that to center. Just tilt the steel and just knock the sharp edges off. All right, I'm hemming this. I'm going to explain what I'm doing here in just a second. I just want to get it done while it's hot. anytime you fuller, you're going to displace material, right? Fuller goes in, pushes it out. Normally, if you don't hem it, if you don't do what I just did, the web of the shoe ends up wider here than it does in the toe, and it makes the toe look really weak. What I'm going to do before that happens is I'm going to knock that edge up before I run the fuller through. So when it displaces it, it pushes it back to where it was to start with. I'm going to fuller all the way to the end of my heel because I'm going to leave myself a little bit of safety. If I need to get my shoe a little bigger, I'll go on and fuller it down. Thing is if you fuller it all the way to the end or close to the end and you're too big and you're going to rasp some off or something or grind it off, then it looks like crap because you've ground into the fullering. You guys see when I bent that, it bent up in the toe. Because I had it stuck in the fire too far. Okay, when I flatten this, same thing. It's gotten thicker on the inside when I bent it, thinner on the outside. You can see that. Now I'm just going to run my edges a little bit. Yeah. I'm running the edges. When I run those edges, I'm leaning my stock a little bit, so I'm just cleaning up this edge with my hammer. The horn's cleaning up the inside edge, the opposite edge. Okay, when I'm Pritcheling here, a lot of guys, you know, look at the top of the Pritchel. You know, you can't possibly tell how much pitch you have on your Pritchel if you're looking up here. You know, you got to be looking down here. Another thing is people have trouble with the tips of the Pritchels breaking. So the Pritchel, your Pritchel's leaning, they come over here and they hit the outside of the shoe because it's easier. It twists the shoe the opposite direction the Pritchel's pitch, so it snaps the end off. So all you can do is hit the inside and it won't break the ends of your Pritchel off. Well, a couple things. The fuller's got to be dressed right. Fuller has to be dressed right. Usually if it's leaving those lines, the fuller's got a belly in it. Does that make sense? Okay, one thing I'll talk about the fullering. Well, a lot of times you look at the fullering and this is the side that's hard for me. It wants to come out at the toe. Well, this blow here has to be this way into this corner to drive the fuller around. Did I hope it fits? If it don't fit, it's my apprentice's fault. Yep. Okay, I'm going to draw this clip. First few blows are straight down the side, and then I'm going to go right into the corner like I'm trying to wreck the corner of this anvil. Now I don't want to draw the clip down the side of the anvil, just straight in. As soon as you see a dark spot right there, you want to quit. Now I'm going to come here and I'm going to use this side of my hammer. Now if I want some height on it, more height, I just tilt my hammer more. But you get those lines in there when you do that. But Another thing, if you're in a certification or something, remember is, you know, take your finish file or something and knock this mustering off from the burn, because when you put the shoe up there, especially at the clip, it can feel tight to the judge, even though it's not. It'll feel that flare. That mustering is wider than the foot is because it's you know it's melted and it's spread out. Another thing is the bars. If you burn into the bars and you go back to the anvil and you do anything to the shoe cold, which you know is legal, yeah, I mean you can do that, you know. But you've burned into the bar and you've closed the shoe or something, or turned the heel in just a little before you hand it to the judge, it's going to be sprung. Look like the heel sprung because you've burnt into that bar. Now the bar's sticking up and the shoe's sitting on that bar. Does that make sense? So before you know, if you guys, any of the guys are doing it, before you give it to the judge, you know, just knife out that part where you've burned in to the bar and make sure that it's not sitting on it, because you won't, you know, you wouldn't have a sprung heel when you checked it, but then when you hand it to the judge, it's something that you don't think about, or I've done before, and it didn't even cross my mind. You got to bend them in a 90 first, and leave the nail at least as long as it is wide, okay, and gouge under it as long as it is wide. Okay. I'll tell you a little trick, if you really want to get nitpicky about it, even if you're clinching with clinchers or hammer clinching, if you'll take your rasp and you'll make that clinch just like a clip, thick at the base and thinner at the tip, when you bend it over into the foot, it's flatter. Yeah, I'm just used to a round one though, you know, not a square one, but my my one in there is bailed too, bailed out. The one I use, bailed like that. But when you're hammer clinching, you just got to get it started over and then into the foot.